Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press, joining us now. Good to see you again, Chuck.
Nice to see you, Bram.
So, who is the most important audience for Joe Biden tonight? The people in the room, the people at home, or the people who are going to vote in 2024?
Oh, I think it's definitely the people who are going to vote in 2024. The question is how many of them are watching, right? I mean, one of the things we've learned with States of the Union is the audience is largely made up of folks that already are on one side of the aisle, whatever side the president is on. When there's a Republican president, it's a Republican-leaning audience. When there's a Democratic president, it's a Democratic-leaning audience. So I think it really is, he's hoping that it's a bunch of swing voters do choose to tune in. And I think that's who he's aiming his speech at. He's trying to explain what he's done the first 2 years. That's a good chunk of this speech tonight. They believe that they've accomplished a lot, but it hasn't necessarily penetrated the public. So he's got to use his speech to do that. I think he wants to talk as bipartisan as he can realistically, credibly can. So talk about a couple of issues where the only ways to solve them are through bipartisan action. That's police reform and the border. So I expect to see those done almost less partisan-like and a little bit more of, hey, this is what the country told us to do. Divided government, we got to solve these problems. And then I expect, a defense of what we're doing in Ukraine and an articulation of exactly what our posture is with China. And I think those are important things for the public to hear. And I'm curious to see how he frames both of those issues for tonight's audience.
On the divided government issue, does he have to explicitly reach out to Republicans in the room, to Kevin McCarthy sitting behind him? What do you think that's going to look like?
Well, I think if you told me that he has an extra handshake or fist bump or something with McCarthy, it wouldn't surprise me. That's who he is, right? He's Joe. He wants to be, everybody's buddy. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was an extra gesture of some sort on that front. But I think it's about, look, the bills he's going to tout that they passed, 7 of the 8 of them were bipartisan bills. They were not one-party only bills. Only what do they call it? They call it the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a name whose title's a bit misleading, but their climate and energy bill, that was the only one that was done on a party line vote. Everything else did have at least 10 to 15 Senate Republicans on board and a handful in the House. So I think that's another way he's going to try to make that point. Hey, we've actually done a lot of bipartisan work. I hope that is going forward. And the fact is, the only way to do any of this stuff in the Senate is in a bipartisan way.
What about the speech itself? You kind of alluded to this earlier. Has it outlived its usefulness in a social media era? Who really sits down to listen to the president talking for an hour?
So the answer is probably nobody. But if you can cut up an hour-long speech into 50 different slices of the speech, and so look, I don't think you and I are in this. We're in this in that sense. We deal with this all the time, right? Which is shrinking audience or different platforms here, platforms there. Look, it's a big event. There's still going to be 30 million eyeballs. Maybe it's not the 50 million we used to get. 30 million isn't chump change these days. That's still 10% of the population that will tune in on one night. I think you have to take advantage of that, but you have to be realistic. You got to know that you probably got to have pieces. You got to hope pieces of the speech go viral. And I think it makes speech writing more difficult than ever. I don't think this can be a cohesive speech. And State of the Unions that break through, actually, you don't want them to be cohesive these days because of our fragmented media. You almost want to have a pitch over here. This will be on TikTok. This will make it on Snap. And this will do well on YouTube. I think that is as much of what they think about tonight as they do about a cohesive theme with the speech as well.
And quickly, speaking of viral moments, do you expect Republicans to walk in with balloons?
I'm sure one will. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is already walking around Congress with a balloon of some sort. Look, the fact that in the age of social media, if you're asking me, is there going to be some political theatrics? I think I think that's an easy bet to yes.
Chuck Todd, thanks so much. Great to see you, Chuck. Take care.
All right, Brian.